We at Unpoisoned America investigated some of the biggest frozen pizza brands in America, and what we found changes the way you'll look at the freezer aisle forever. Most people assume frozen pizza is simple: dough, tomato sauce, cheese, pepperoni. Read the label. Some of America's most recognizable frozen pizzas contain cheese blends that barely resemble traditional mozzarella. Others rely on modified food starch, artificial flavors, cellulose powder, anti-caking chemicals, soybean oil, and preservatives designed to keep ingredients looking fresh months after they were made. You've been lied to. Millions of Americans serve these pizzas every week, believing they're feeding their families real food. In many cases, they're paying premium prices for products engineered to imitate freshness rather than deliver it. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. Several companies spend more money designing their packaging than improving the ingredients inside it. Today, we're exposing 10 frozen pizza brands you should think twice about buying. Then we'll reveal 4 brands that actually use higher quality ingredients, real cheese, and formulations that justify their price. Every claim in this video comes directly from ingredient labels, company disclosures, manufacturing records, and publicly available information. If frozen pizza is sitting in your freezer right now, read the label, because you may have been eating poison for so long without even realizing it. Let's get into it.
Number 10. Totino's Party Pizza. This is the pizza nearly every American has eaten at some point. Sleepovers, college apartments, late-night snacks, game day. For decades, Totino's has built its reputation around one thing: cheap pizza. Here's the problem. Even Totino's quietly stopped calling many of its products pizza. Read the front of the box. Many varieties are labeled party pizza. Not pepperoni pizza, not cheese pizza, just party pizza. That wording matters, because FDA labeling rules allow manufacturers to describe products differently when they don't fully meet traditional expectations for ingredients. Now, let's look inside. The first thing that stands out isn't actually the crust, it's the cheese. The ingredient panel lists mozzarella, but immediately afterward you find modified food starch, cellulose powder, anti-caking agents, preservatives. The goal isn't better flavor. It's manufacturing efficiency. Real mozzarella naturally releases moisture during baking. Industrial frozen pizzas don't want that. They want identical results every single time, whether the pizza spends 2 weeks or 6 months inside a warehouse freezer. That consistency comes from chemistry, not craftsmanship. Then comes the meat. Many Totino's pepperoni varieties contain mechanically processed meat mixtures stabilized with preservatives and curing agents. Again, entirely legal, but very different from the image on the front of the box. Here's what most shoppers never think about. General Mills generates tens of billions of dollars every year. This isn't a company struggling to afford better cheese. This is a company optimizing margins across millions of pizzas. Every tiny ingredient substitution saves fractions of a cent. Multiply that across hundreds of millions of units, and those fractions become enormous profits. That changes everything. The pizza costs around $2, and at that price, corners have to be cut somewhere. The question is simply, where? The answer is usually hiding on the ingredient label. Now, the next brand costs nearly 3 times more, yet somehow manages to make even more questionable decisions. Number 9. DiGiorno. It's not delivery. You know the rest. That slogan became one of the most successful food marketing campaigns in American history because it planted one idea: this pizza is basically restaurant quality. Here's why that's worth questioning. Read the ingredient label. DiGiorno's signature rising crust relies on multiple dough conditioners and processing aids that help create the illusion of fresh bakery dough after months in frozen storage. Fresh pizza dough changes every day. Humidity changes it, temperature changes it, fermentation changes it. Industrial frozen dough can't behave that way. It has to perform identically. every single time. That consistency requires engineering. Then comes the cheese. The box proudly highlights mozzarella, but read further. You'll often find modified food starch added to improve texture, cellulose to prevent clumping, additional stabilizers designed specifically for freezing. Again, none of these exist because they improve mozzarella. They exist because they improve manufacturing. The sauce follows the same pattern: tomato puree, sugar, soybean oil, natural flavor. Here's the problem. Natural flavor sounds reassuring. It isn't. Under FDA regulations, companies are not required to publicly disclose the complete composition of natural flavor mixtures because they're considered proprietary formulations. Consumers see two harmless words: natural flavor. They have no idea what's actually creating that flavor profile. That lack of transparency matters, especially when a product markets itself as closer to homemade. Now let's talk about ownership. DiGiorno belongs to Nestle, one of the largest food corporations on Earth, operating in nearly every country, managing thousands of products. When companies operate at that scale, standardization becomes the priority, not artisan quality. Consistency, shelf stability, manufacturing efficiency. Those objectives influence every ingredient decision, including your frozen pizza. Now, imagine serving this every Friday night, week after week, year after year, to your children, because you've always believed it was the good frozen pizza. You've been lied to. Not because DiGiorno breaks the law, but because marketing carefully creates an expectation the ingredient list doesn't fully support. Save your kids, save your family, because what you're trusting is often the front of the box, not what's actually inside it. And the next brand may surprise you even more. Its entire identity is built around authentic Italian heritage, but once you discover who actually owns it, the story changes completely. The next brand built its reputation on one word: authentic. Here's the problem. Authenticity is one of the easiest things to print on a box, and one of the hardest things to verify. Number 8. California Pizza Kitchen. Most Americans know California Pizza Kitchen as the restaurant: upscale, freshly prepared, wood-fired image. That restaurant reputation became the frozen pizza's greatest marketing asset. You assume you're buying a restaurant pizza you can bake at home. Read the label. Many varieties begin with enriched wheat flour, followed by mozzarella, vegetable oils, sugar, modified food starch, natural flavors, and stabilizers. None of these ingredients automatically make the pizza unsafe. The real issue? They're almost identical to ingredients used by brands selling pizzas for half the price. Now look at the cheese. The front proudly advertises mozzarella. Flip the box over. Many varieties include anti-caking agents and modified starches mixed into the cheese blend to maintain appearance after freezing. Why? Because real mozzarella changes. It releases moisture. It browns unevenly. Its texture varies from batch to batch. Frozen manufacturing doesn't tolerate variation. Uniformity sells. That changes everything. Now look at ownership. Most consumers still picture chefs tossing dough inside California Pizza Kitchen restaurants. The frozen pizzas? They're licensed products, manufactured through large-scale commercial production. Very different business, very different priorities. You're paying partly for the restaurant's reputation, not necessarily for significantly better ingredients. Now, here's something worth thinking about. A family buys these pizzas believing they're making a premium choice. The ingredient panel tells a much less premium story. You've been lied to, not about where it was made, but about what makes it worth nearly twice the price of budget competitors. And somehow, the next brand has convinced millions of shoppers that expensive automatically means healthier. Number 7. Amy's Kitchen. This one surprises people. Amy's has spent decades building trust with health-conscious families. Organic ingredients, vegetarian options, simple packaging, natural image. Parents often choose Amy's because they believe they're avoiding the highly processed alternatives. Here's why that deserves a closer look. Read the label. Yes, many Amy's pizzas use organic ingredients. Yes, the cheese is generally better than what you've seen so far. But organic doesn't automatically mean minimally processed. Several varieties still rely on refined wheat flour, high sodium levels, added oils, starches, and ingredient combinations designed for industrial frozen production. Organic certification verifies farming practices. It doesn't guarantee nutritional superiority. That distinction matters because marketing often blurs the two. Now, look at the sodium. Many Amy's pizzas deliver well over 700 to 900 milligrams per serving. Most people don't stop at one serving. A single pizza can approach or exceed a significant portion of the recommended daily sodium intake, especially for children or anyone managing blood pressure. Now, does that make Amy's a bad company? No, that's not what we're saying. The point is transparency. Consumers often pay almost double, believing they're buying something dramatically healthier. In reality, some improvements are genuine. Others are much smaller than the packaging suggests. That changes everything. Because once consumers hear the word organic, many stop reading the ingredient label entirely. Read the label, always. The box shouldn't make the decision for you. Now, the next company practically invented frozen pizza in America, and that's exactly why millions of shoppers never question it. Number 6, Red Baron. Walk into almost any American grocery store, you'll find Red Baron. Family size, classic crust, stuffed crust, brick oven, French bread. The brand has become almost impossible to avoid. Here's why. Red Baron is owned by Schwan's, one of America's largest frozen food manufacturers. Their expertise isn't artisan pizza, it's mass production. Every ingredient has one objective: consistency. The dough, the sauce, the cheese, the pepperoni. Everything is engineered to survive transportation, distribution, warehousing, and months inside industrial freezers. Read the cheese ingredients. Depending on the variety, you'll often find mozzarella combined with modified food starch and cellulose. Again, those ingredients don't improve cheese, they improve manufacturing. Now examine the pepperoni. Traditional pepperoni contains relatively few ingredients. Industrial frozen pepperoni often includes preservatives, curing accelerators, flavor stabilizers, and antioxidants designed specifically for long frozen shelf lives. Here's something fascinating. Real pizza ages. The dough changes. Fresh cheese behaves differently every day. Industrial frozen pizza cannot change. Every pizza purchased in New York, Texas, Florida, or California must taste almost identical. That level of consistency doesn't happen naturally. It happens because food scientists remove variability wherever possible. Now, think about your freezer. Maybe there's a Red Baron pizza sitting inside it right now. You've probably bought it dozens of times without ever flipping the box over, without ever asking why cheese needs anti-caking agents, or why pizza sauce requires natural flavor, or why dough requires processing aids. You've been eating poison for so long, not because every ingredient is toxic, but because decades of marketing taught you to stop asking questions. Save your kids, save your family, because habits become traditions, and traditions become automatic purchases. That's exactly what billion-dollar food companies depend on. Now, we're halfway through the avoid list. The next 5 become significantly more concerning. One of them is America's single most recognizable frozen pizza, a brand almost everyone watching has purchased. Wait until you see what's hiding behind its reputation. Now, we're entering the brands that built their reputation on one thing: trust. Not low prices, not convenience, trust. And once you read the ingredient panel, that trust begins to look very different. Number 5, Tombstone. Tombstone has been around since the 1960s. Its entire identity revolves around bold flavor, generous toppings, and an old-school American pizza experience. For millions of families, it's the pizza they've always recognized in the freezer aisle. Here's the problem. Recognition isn't the same as quality. Read the label. The crust starts with enriched wheat flour. Nothing unusual there. But within the ingredient panel, you'll also find soybean oil, sugar, dough conditioners, and preservatives that help the crust remain stable after months in frozen storage. Fresh pizza dough doesn't need to survive 6 months. Industrial frozen dough does. That changes everything. Now look at the cheese. The box highlights mozzarella, but the ingredient list tells a more complete story. Modified food starch, cellulose powder, anti-caking compounds. The cheese has been engineered not simply to melt, but to melt consistently after repeated freezing, transportation, warehouse storage, grocery freezers, and finally, your oven. Consistency, not authenticity. Then comes the pepperoni. Traditional Italian pepperoni develops flavor through curing. Frozen pepperoni develops consistency through formulation. Preservatives, stabilizers, antioxidants. Again, entirely legal, but very different from the image consumers picture when they hear the word pepperoni. Now let's talk about ownership. Tombstone belongs to Nestle, the same multinational corporation behind DiGiorno. Different box, different branding, very similar manufacturing priorities. That's something most shoppers never realize. They think they're comparing competing brands. Often, they're simply comparing different marketing strategies from the same corporate parent. That matters because competition encourages innovation. Shared ownership often encourages efficiency. Those aren't always the same thing. Now, imagine standing in the freezer aisle. You see Tombstone. You remember eating it growing up. Your parents bought it. Now you buy it for your own children. That's exactly how brand loyalty works. It passes from one generation to the next without anyone ever reading the ingredient label. You've been lied to, not by nostalgia, by the assumption that decades on the shelf automatically mean decades of quality. Save your kids, save your family, because habits formed in childhood often become purchasing decisions in adulthood, and the next brand has become one of the biggest beneficiaries of that exact phenomenon. Number 4, Tony's Pizza. Tony's isn't marketed as gourmet. It isn't pretending to compete with artisan pizza. Instead, it competes on one thing: price. Large pizzas, low cost, family value. Here's why that low price deserves a closer look. Read the ingredient list: enriched wheat flour, processed cheese blend, soybean oil, modified food starch, artificial colors in certain specialty varieties, flavor enhancers, stabilizers, preservatives. Every one of those ingredients exists for a reason, not to improve flavor, to improve manufacturing economics. Real mozzarella is expensive. Processed cheese blends cost less. Real tomatoes fluctuate throughout the year. Flavor systems create consistency. Fresh dough requires skilled handling. Industrial dough systems require machinery. Every substitution saves money. Individually, only fractions of a cent. Across millions of pizzas, millions of dollars. Now think about the cheese stretch you see in advertisements. Long, smooth, perfectly melted. That image creates an expectation. But food styling for advertising often differs dramatically from what comes out of your own oven. Read the label. The ingredient list tells you far more than the commercial ever will. Now, let's discuss sodium. Many Tony's pizzas contain sodium levels that climb rapidly once realistic serving sizes are considered. The serving size printed on the nutrition panel rarely reflects how people actually eat frozen pizza. Most adults eat several slices. Teenagers often eat half the pizza. Some finish the entire thing. That dramatically changes the nutritional picture. Consumers rarely calculate that. Marketing knows they won't. That changes everything. Because the nutrition facts aren't misleading. They're simply presented using serving assumptions that don't reflect real life. The result? People unknowingly consume far more sodium, saturated fat, and calories than they expected. You've been eating poison for so long, not because one slice ruins your health, but because repeated choices become repeated exposure, week after week, year after year. Now, the next brand might be the biggest surprise so far, because it's marketed almost entirely around freshness. Number 3, Freschetta. The name itself suggests freshness. Fresh, Italian, bakery quality. The packaging reinforces the same message. Premium photography, golden crust, rich bubbling cheese, fresh vegetables. Here's why that's worth investigating. Frozen pizza is designed for long-term storage.
Freshness is not its defining characteristic. Shelf stability is. Read the ingredient panel. You'll find dough conditioners helping maintain crust texture after freezing, modified food starch helping stabilize cheese, natural flavors enhancing consistency, vegetable oils improving processing performance. Again, nothing unusual for frozen manufacturing. The issue is expectation. Consumers hear Freschetta, they picture fresh ingredients. The ingredient panel describes something much closer to highly engineered convenience food. Now, look at the tomato sauce. Tomato puree, sugar, salt, natural flavor, sometimes additional stabilizers depending on the variety. Here's the problem. When tomatoes are naturally flavorful, they usually require fewer additions. When flavor becomes less consistent, additional ingredients begin doing more of the work. That doesn't automatically mean poor quality, but it should encourage consumers to ask better questions. Now, let's discuss the cheese. Many shoppers assume frozen pizza cheese is simply shredded mozzarella. Read the label carefully. You'll often discover anti-caking compounds and starches specifically designed to improve freezing performance. Those ingredients weren't added because consumers requested them. They were added because industrial logistics demanded them. That distinction matters. Fresh pizza exists to satisfy diners. Frozen pizza exists to survive distribution. Two completely different manufacturing priorities. Now, imagine your grocery cart. You probably believed you were choosing one of the fresher frozen options. That's exactly what the branding encourages. You've been lied to. Not about the pizza being frozen, about what fresh actually means once manufacturing enters the equation. Save your kids, save your family, because every purchase teaches companies what consumers are willing to accept, and if shoppers never read ingredient labels, nothing changes. Now, only 2 brands remain on the avoid list. One of them dominates supermarket freezers across America. The other has built an image so powerful, millions of consumers never think to question it. And that's where this investigation becomes even more interesting.
Now, we've reached the final 2 brands. These aren't niche products. They're among the most recognizable frozen pizzas in America. Millions of families buy them without hesitation. Because once a brand becomes familiar, most people stop asking questions. Read the label. That changes everything. Jack's has built its reputation around simplicity. Thin crust, affordable price, no unnecessary marketing. Just pizza. Here's the problem. The ingredient panel tells a much more complicated story. The crust begins with enriched wheat flour, followed by vegetable oils, sugar, yeast, and dough conditioners that help it maintain texture after months in frozen storage. Now, look at the cheese. Jack's primarily uses low-moisture mozzarella, but like many mass-market frozen pizzas, several varieties also include anti-caking agents and stabilizers to help the cheese perform consistently throughout freezing and baking. Why? Because frozen pizza isn't engineered for today's dinner. It's engineered for an unpredictable supply chain. A pizza may leave the factory, travel hundreds of miles, sit inside multiple distribution warehouses, spend weeks in a supermarket freezer, then finally reach your oven. Every ingredient has to survive that journey. That means formulation often wins over freshness.
Now, let's talk about sodium. Organizations that analyze frozen pizza nutrition consistently identify pizza as one of the largest contributors of sodium in the American diet, and many mainstream frozen brands, including Jack's, contain substantial sodium per serving. Most consumers never calculate what happens when they eat half the pizza instead of the serving size listed. That's where the numbers change dramatically. Here's why this matters. Jack's isn't pretending to be artisan pizza, but millions of families have quietly accepted ingredient compromises simply because the brand has always been there. You've been eating the same product for years without ever asking why it stays so consistent. Save your kids, save your family, because habits don't become healthier simply because they're familiar. And the number one brand represents that idea better than any other company on this list. Number 1. DiGiorno stuffed crust and premium lines. Earlier, we looked at standard DiGiorno, but the premium stuffed crust varieties deserve their own discussion, because this is the frozen pizza many consumers genuinely believe rivals delivery. It's not delivery. You've heard it for decades. The slogan worked. Here's why. Consumers stopped comparing DiGiorno with other frozen pizzas. They started comparing it with restaurant pizza. That psychological shift is incredibly valuable. Now read the label. Stuffed crust doesn't simply mean more cheese. It means a far more engineered product. Additional stabilizers, processing aids, texture modifiers. Everything has to perform inside a crust that's frozen solid before baking. Now think about the cheese. Most consumers imagine fresh mozzarella stretching inside the crust. The reality is much more technical. The cheese has been specifically formulated to survive freezing, transportation, storage, reheating, and baking, while still producing a predictable melt. That's manufacturing precision, not traditional pizza making. Now look at the nutrition panel. Many stuffed crust pizzas contain well over 1,000 milligrams of sodium before most people even consider eating additional slices. Public health groups note that frozen pizza is already one of the leading sources of sodium in the US diet. That doesn't make every slice dangerous, but it should change the way you think about Friday pizza night, because small weekly decisions become long-term eating habits. Here's the bigger issue. DiGiorno is sold as convenience with restaurant quality, but convenience and restaurant craftsmanship solve two completely different problems. Restaurants optimize today's meal. Frozen manufacturers optimize national distribution. Those goals rarely produce identical food. You've been lied to, not because frozen pizza is inherently bad, but because advertising encouraged you to judge it by the finished picture on the box, instead of the ingredient list on the back. Read the label, always, because that's where the real product lives. Now, let's talk about the brands that actually deserve your money. The encouraging news? Some of them are sitting in the very same freezer aisle. Better option number 4, Newman's Own. Newman's Own starts with a noticeably simpler philosophy. Its ingredient lists feature recognizable foods, including low-moisture mozzarella, vegetables, and uncured pepperoni on many varieties, with fewer artificial-style processing additions than many mainstream competitors. It isn't perfect, it's still frozen pizza, but the ingredient logic is considerably easier to understand. Better option number 3, Rao's Frozen Pizza. If you've tried Rao's pasta sauce, you already know the philosophy. Simple ingredients, tomato-forward flavor, whole milk mozzarella, premium positioning. Food critics have repeatedly ranked Rao's among the best frozen pizzas available because of its sauce quality and restrained ingredient approach. You're paying more, but you're paying primarily for better ingredients, not elaborate marketing. Better option number 2, Screamin' Sicilian. This brand has quietly developed one of the strongest reputations among frozen pizza enthusiasts. Why? Because the company openly emphasizes whole milk mozzarella, butter crusts, generous toppings, and Wisconsin cheese. Independent reviewers consistently place Screamin' Sicilian near the top of frozen pizza rankings for flavor and ingredient quality. Again, Still frozen, still processed, but noticeably closer to what consumers expect when they read the front of the box. Better option number 1. Make your own. That might sound surprising, but here's why it wins. Buy fresh pizza dough, a can of quality tomatoes, fresh mozzarella, olive oil, fresh basil. 10 minutes of preparation. You immediately remove many of the stabilizers, processing aids, and freezing compromises required for industrial manufacturing. Just food. That's the biggest difference. The frozen pizza aisle isn't full of poison, it's full of trade-offs. The problem is that most companies don't market those trade-offs. They market nostalgia, convenience, restaurant imagery, family traditions. Read the label. That single habit changes how you shop forever. Because once you understand what's actually inside the box, marketing starts losing its power, and companies have to compete on something much harder to fake: quality. If this investigation changed the way you look at your freezer aisle, share it with someone who still believes every pizza box tells the whole story. You might save your kids. You might save your family. And at the very least, you'll never look at frozen pizza the same way again.